All right, welcome one and all. This is the next edition where we're watching old episodes of BBC Crimewatch. And so basically the format of the show is we are going to be watching the reconstruction, what information the police give to us. And then I'll be able to I will tell you what I've been able to find out, or as in some cases haven't been able to find out, and whether the case is solved or is still open. Now, there are some interesting cases coming up here. So you can see the blue siren on the screen. Let's just hit play. That classic Crimewatch jingle. See, before we do get into it, just to give a warning that obviously we are dealing with true cases. Some of them are very horrific. So this is your trigger warning.
Hello and welcome to the programme where you can directly take part and help to cut the crime rate. Now you may need pencil and paper. This is the number here in the studio that you can ring at any time, but there'll be others on the screen and other information that you may want to keep. Now these are all police officers here. They're all investigating crimes that we'll be featuring tonight, and they'll be waiting for your call. Everything you see tonight will be for real.
We'll be reconstructing events in explicit detail, and maybe you'll recognise something you've never connected with a crime and find that you hold the key to solving it. We had an overwhelming response to our first programme, so we'll start with a progress report. This is part of our reconstruction of events surrounding the murder of 16-year-old Colette Aram in Keyworth in Nottinghamshire.
I did talk about this one in the first episode. So this case has now been solved. Albeit
over 500 viewers called in, producing 57 entirely new clues and a definite new sighting of Colette's killer a few hours before she was strangled. Detective Superintendent Bob Davey, in charge of the case, sums it up like this. Morale on the team has certainly been boosted. A trail which was in danger of going cold has now been thoroughly revived.
And that's
I guess it's
to you.
a bit of a shame to see those leads didn't really go anywhere.
A viewer who saw our reconstruction believes that he actually saw the theft in this street in the City of London. His description of 3 men removing the stamps from the back of this blue van is now the best lead that the City Police have. So we'll keep you posted, to coin a phrase.
And Devon and Cornwall
I don't know if that
had
one
a
was
great
ever
success
solved.
with their Aladdin's Cave of Unclaimed Treasure. In fact, 23 pieces turned out to come from a single burglary, and it wasn't in the West Country at all, but in Essex.
Again, I think
and
lots of people would have called in saying, yep, that's mine.
As a result, 2 people are helping police with their inquiries into a large number of burglaries as far apart as Southwark, Colchester and Camberley. So thank you. Now, tonight, the police need your help to solve the murder of Caroline Osborne. As always, this is the number to ring if you can help. We'll be showing this and local numbers throughout the programme.
At the time of her death, Caroline was 33 and running a successful small business near Leicester. It's now almost exactly a year since she was killed, but still the police don't know certain crucial details of her life or about what happened. What follows now is a reconstruction based on the evidence there is of Caroline's last hours. At 6 o'clock on the evening of Friday, July the 29th last year, Caroline Osborne had finished work and returned home to 107 Danvers Road off the Narborough Road in Leicester.
I guess if 1980s murders ever come up, this could be revision.
There you go, Tammy. You're on there. Caroline ran a small business, clipping and grooming dogs. She had over 700 customers, so she was quite a well-known figure in the area, collecting and delivering.
Wasn't concerned with keeping her place clean, though, was she? That's just not hygienic.
Don't worry, Tammy. We'll go for a walk soon, yeah? Yeah. There you go. People who knew
I mean,
her
obviously,
say
I know
she was a
it's
quiet
just
person.
the cameras who
And there
set
was
it
really
up.
only one subject she loved to talk about, and that was
Darts.
dogs.
Well,
Caroline
dogs,
loved
obviously.
all animals. She'd had the holiday of a lifetime in November in 1982. These snaps were taken on safari in Kenya with her friend. Caroline enjoyed the country so much that she decided she wanted to live there. So, shortly after returning home, she advertised her house and business for sale. And then, without telling anyone, took
Why am I
herself to a
doing
local
this?
aero club and started a course of flying
I
lessons.
don't know. I just
She
thought it
felt
might
that
be
Kenya
fun
was
to
a
do.
place where she'd need
Well,
to
not
be able
fun.
to fly.
Fun wouldn't be the word. Just interesting.
It was about 6:30 when a neighbour saw Caroline setting off from the back of the shop to exercise 2 dogs. An eyewitness reports seeing her minutes later taking the path towards Aylstone Meadows, her usual route for walking her black Labrador and her neighbour's white dog, Tammy. And here was the last definite sighting of Caroline Osborne. Aylstone Meadows is a strange mixture
Doesn't
of
look
public
nice,
park,
this park.
river and canal, and industrial buildings. It's a popular area for local children to play on, and there's a busy section of the
Strange,
Grand
isn't it?
Union Canal with its locks and towpath. This footbridge was part of her usual walk.
Well, Doom, that's why I did put out the trigger warning. You know,
But there are some aspects of
some of the
Caroline's
stuff
life and
is
business
quite
which
horrific.
still puzzle the police. For example, her van was a white Ford Escort. But more than 80 different witnesses recall seeing Caroline using a blue van to collect and deliver dogs at customers' houses and to take dogs for walks at a nearby park. The van didn't belong to Caroline, the precise make is not known, and neither the van nor its owner
Blue
have ever
van.
been traced. Another few minutes' walk, and Caroline would have passed St Mary's Mills Lock.
You don't know how people can look at crime scenes. What you mean? You mean like people who are just interested in crimes, or?
She was a private sort of person. There were some men in her life who even her closest friends didn't know. Some the police haven't yet traced. In March 1983, one of Caroline's customers collecting her dog from the shop saw someone else there. He seemed quite at home and remarked on the fact that they were all wearing blue clothes. The man's trainers and tracksuit trousers and his T-shirt were all dark blue. He wore a silver bracelet and digital watch and a silver medallion. So far, the police haven't been able to trace him.
You mean like being a CSI?
There was one other man seen with Caroline. A neighbour saw a man coming out of the back door of the shop and helping her with the dogs. He too has never been traced. Since he clearly knew Caroline, the police are anxious to identify him. At this point, Caroline could have taken one of 2 routes,
you've
but a
got your
later
suspect
possible
then,
sighting seems to suggest she took this path towards the gas holder.
Evening, Rob.
Beyond this corner and from the other side of the canal, another witness caught a glimpse of someone, possibly Caroline, with a man running after her. That sighting was at 6:50
someone
p.m.
has to
and if
clean
that
up
was her, it was the last time she was seen alive.
the crime scenes eventually, yeah.
By 7:10, the black Labrador was seen heading home. The neighbours became concerned when they noticed the dog exhausted back at the shop without Caroline.
Mm-hmm.
One of them went to look for her on the meadows, But by 10:30 that evening, when there was still no sign of her, he telephoned the police. The following morning, the police search resumed, and it was then that the fate of Caroline Osborne was discovered. All night, the neighbour's white dog had been guarding her body.
I like that. That looks
Caroline
like
had been
those
stabbed
dogs
to death.
coordinated. The black one ran back.
Well, Detective
So,
Superintendent
to
Alan
raise the
Stagg
alarm
is
while the
heading the
white stayed to
investigation.
guard
It's a
the
very
body.
large area to cover this, isn't it? Have you accounted for all the people on that day in Easton Meadows?
No, unfortunately, we haven't. We have got 500 people sighted down there that day, but we've still got 25 unidentified men alone.
Oh, Greg Davis has a series where he's a
So you need them to come forward.
crime
Yes,
scene
we do.
cleaner.
It is a very
No, I
popular
haven't seen
place
that.
at that time of the year, but we've still been unable to trace them.
Anyone who saw anybody that day. What about those two men we saw?
Yes, the first one, the olive skin man with the medallion, he was seen in the shop in March by the
He's very odd
witness.
looking, that guy.
But more important, he was seen in the Huntsman Public House on the Narborough Road in Leicester on the following Sunday. And obviously, he appeared to be local, so he's not come forward, and we're anxious to trace him.
I haven't seen Ludwig yet.
Well, the other man was seen there in May and June time, 2 or 3 occasions by a neighbour, and we think he may well have been a boyfriend of Caroline's. So obviously, we need him to come forward as well.
Now, could that blue van have belonged to one of the two men, do you think?
Could have done. Totally bemusing. You know, we've got over 80 sightings of that blue van being used by Caroline Osborne, and yet we just don't know why she was using it.
Well, surely somebody must know something about that.
You'd have thought so. You know, I would have expected somebody who's rented the van to come forward and see us, and yet they haven't. And I appeal tonight, of course, for the public to, if they do know anything about anybody lending her a blue van, then to contact us.
And finally, she had been married, hadn't she? Has her ex-husband Gary Osborne been able to help you?
Yes, we've had long chats with Gary because obviously he's a singer. He has been with the Raymack Vale Orchestra in the past, but in the 1970s he was with the Ivor Kenny Sound in Leicester, and a lot of people...
Pause that a minute, because I did look up Gary Osborne's music career. It took me a few times because it was hard to understand what that guy was saying. But first he said he was in the Raymack Vale Orchestra. So he had his orchestra and he'd done loads of popular songs in his own jazz style, and he is still going today as the conductor of the Glenn Miller Orchestra. And he also said he was in the Ivor Kenny Sound, which was a nightclub in Leicester. Well, from the 1920s right through until 2009. So yeah. So if you have any memories of being in the Palais de Danse in Leicester in the 70s, let me know in the comments. That's not really important. It was just something I just looked up for no reason, really.
People would have known Caroline through Gary. So I asked the public, of course, that if they do know Gary and have seen him with Caroline, then of course to contact us.
Right, and as we saw there, Caroline looked rather different there. So the number to ring in confidence, if there's any way you think you can help, is here on 811 8055, or at the incident room at Wigston in Leicester on 0533, that's the code for Leicester, 813 121, or on Leicester 813 122. That's Leicester 813 121 or 813 122.
Okay. Yes, you do always spam. So, yes, so Caroline Osborne's murder. So I can reveal this one is, if I can get all the, where's my cursor gone? So her murder has been solved. She was murdered by a guy called Paul Bostock, who would have been 16 at the time. Yes, Arcanics, I'm gonna get onto that. And so he was 16 at the time he murdered Caroline Osborne, but he did murder another woman, Amanda Whedon. He stabbed her 37 times, apparently. And where it gets really messed up was he murdered Amanda Whedon right after visiting the grave of Caroline Osborne. That is just messed up. So Paul Bostock, he was released from prison in 2020. So as far as I know, he is still living out there somewhere. All right, but yeah, just messed up, just murdering your second victim right after going to the grave of your first.
The next crime happened in a crowded public place and in broad daylight. There were thousands of potential witnesses, and maybe you were one of them. It's a crime that involved a great deal of planning, and possibly the culprit was wearing
Guildford.
some disguise. This is Sydenham Road in Guildford city centre.
Oh yeah,
right
I saw
by Holy
that
Trinity
about
Churchyard.
Alex Salmons
They've
passed
been
away.
doing building work here for the past 2 months, but you might remember one day in particular.
It's Derby Steps, and the crowds are already massing on the course.
It was a memorable day for quite another reason in this part of Surrey. At about 10:30 that morning, a workman noticed a young man, particularly smartly dressed it seemed, and with a woman's push bike, which he left by the churchyard railings. Guildford High Street is just 100 yards away, and several of the shops have just started their summer sales.
I don't think Guildford High Street looks that different today.
A couple of shoppers next spotted the smartly dressed man. They couldn't have suspected that they were looking at a gunman. One young couple remember him joining them on a bench. The woman noticed his smooth appearance and dark, curly hair. She thought it looked too perfect and wondered if it was a wig. It's now 2:45.
That's true.
In less than an hour, he'll reveal himself as a
Didn't even
potential
wear a
fake.
helmet. I like that they think he's too smartly dressed to be walking
At
around
20 to
Guildford.
4, this van parked outside Sainsbury's store, and a guard got out to pick up the day's takings. The Securicorps guard
Oh, you think he would cushion the fall if he fell?
tried to have a go, and the robber panicked. The shots he fired went into the ceiling. Now he raced away along a route he'd mapped out quite precisely, up into Holy Trinity Churchyard and along through the old cemetery. And that's where he picked up the bike he'd so carefully positioned earlier by the building site.
See, they're trying to suggest this was all well planned. I don't think it was.
Fast downhill towards Guildford Castle.
If he was going to try to rob Securica guy, I don't know if you've seen the boxes they carry, but they are really big, bulky, and heavy.
Saw him race past and thought he might knock
that
someone
bike
down
would
on the
not
narrow path.
be practical.
But the gunman had chosen this pedestrian route so that a police chase would be nigh on impossible.
Even just trying to run away with it would be a struggle.
At the end of Castle Hill footpath, the bike was abandoned, and where he went next is guesswork. He probably ended up at Castle Arch by Guildford Museum, and he could have had an accomplice waiting for him there in a car. If he went left, he may have headed out to Shalford or Horsham.
That's
or
true.
Alternatively, he may have got into a car just below at Millbrook Car Park. Either way, at this point, the Guildford Derby Day gunman disappeared. Detective Chief Inspector Tim Blake is the man hunting him. You're obviously looking for witnesses in the Millbrook Car Park area and in the
I don't know
Quarry
if we
Street
should be
area,
giving them
but there are some
such
tangible clues as well.
There are.
Now, what do we know
such
about
exciting
the bike,
nicknames.
The bike we know is 16 years old. It was made specifically for the mail order market and co-op stores. It's a Royal Albert make with 3-speed gear and the basket, as you can see.
And it's a sort of maroon colour. Now, somebody either sold this, it's a woman's bike with this sort of, this of course could have been added later, the basket, or it was stolen. Now, did it come from the Guildford
I
area?
don't think it makes for a great getaway
had
vehicle.
vast publicity in the Guildford area. We have received a negative response on that. So it could have been brought down in the boot of a car or in a van, and we are interested in anyone who saw a man in Guildford taking a bike like this from the boot of a car and contacting us.
On Derby Day, June the 6th. And the man looks like what?
He's 25 to 30 years of age, 5'10" to 6 foot,
No,
slim,
you'd want a much
tan,
better
and very
bike
smart
to
Right.
try and get
Now,
away
that
with.
description is crucial because almost a month to the day before the attack at Sainsbury's, there was a very similar raid at a store nearby, Debenhams in Guildford. And it might have been the
That's
same
true.
man.
It does make
But
it
this
a
time he was caught
noteworthy
by the
case.
security camera. And here he is at the moment of the robbery. He pointed a pistol at a security guard and he escaped with £13,000 worth in cash. This is his photo fit. And like the Sainsbury's raider, he's white, about 5'10", slim, and in his late 20s or early 30s. But is it the same man? Now, Crimewatch UK has been working on an entirely new technique for comparing and enhancing photo fits. Now, this is a standard police issue photo fit kit. It's actually, and you've probably seen these things before, it's a sort of jigsaw with over 500 pieces that slot in here. Eyes, chins, noses, ears, all that sort of thing. Now, that can be put together to produce
Before he gets into this next bit, oh, you think it was cats? You think? So Katz and Robert Powell are our two suspects. They could be, because I've tried to look for this, but I haven't been able to find any information to say whether this robber was caught.
5 million different faces. Here at Crimewatch UK, we've been trying to improve on this with the aid of a new piece of computer technology called an electronic paint box. With the help of an actual witness and under the supervision of an officer acquainted with both the Guildford cases, let's see how with the paint box that photo fit image can be improved. The first thing is to erase those jigsaw lines that break up the photo fit face. The
Does he
cross on the
actually
screen,
ride a
incidentally,
woman's bike?
corresponds to the position of this electronic pen on a sort of magic pad.
Right, are you happy with the shape of that face, the style of the face now?
Yes, it looks very good.
Now, also in your statement, you made reference to the fact that this chap had a all-over even, nice even suntan. Would you like to just try some sort of colour for a tan, please?
So this Crimewatch got better technology than the police.
It's a bit light, really. Can you make it any darker?
How is that for a suntan?
Ben Elton.
Elizabeth?
I think it's about right, really.
Right. And the glasses themselves, are you happy with the shape of them?
Yes, they were quite tinted.
So they were dark and what was seen on there?
Yes. I think they're about right.
Slightly dark.
Perhaps a bit darker.
You
more like
think
sunlight.
it could have been me?
That's better.
It could have.
Look at the picture there. How would
You know,
pick what colour would
if I get
you
access
say
to
now?
time travel technology and at some
Browny
point.
coloured. And darker than that.
What about the cars themselves? What were they like?
They're really spaced out. They looked really uniform, as though they'd been permed or
What, far apart or close together?
sort of about half an inch
So,
between each curl, really.
So currently
Quite
our
uniform,
suspects are
Yes, very
me,
even all over
Katz,
his head.
What else
Ben
do you remember
Elton,
about them?
or Robert Powell.
He had about one grey hair in each curl. That's better
I think
colour.
I'm older than I look. Oh, how old do I look?
Maybe just put that's right, just a few bits of grey in it.
You're quite satisfied that's a fairly good resemblance to the person you
Yes.
saw in Guildford.
Yes, definitely looks like him.
In fact, that's the best impression the police have had so far of the Sainsbury's gunman. Now let's apply this same technique to the robbery suspect at Debenhams. Now, as an experiment, let's see what happens when we compare them both. Take now the hair from the Guildford
Well, there's a
Sainsbury's
wire on
suspect
that pen
and the
so they
Debenhams
don't
one.
nick it.
You remember some witnesses
You
thought
mean
it
like
might have been a wig,
the
and one
pens they
witness said
have
the
in
Debenhams man
banks?
was
They
wearing
have to keep them on
sunglasses.
chains.
And as a final touch, let's take off his moustache. Chief Inspector
pretty
Blake,
good,
people's
but
recollections of faces, of course,
looks like
can
he got
be
a tan in
highly
between.
unreliable. How much of a help is this paint box technique?
I agree with you. They can be mistaken, particularly when they've only had a fleeting glimpse of the offender. But certainly this paint box gives an added weapon to the armoury of an investigating officer.
This man, next time, maybe could kill somebody. If anybody thinks they know him, but details don't fit,
It makes the
presumably
suspects look
still
a
want
little
them.
less
Oh,
weird.
yes, we do. He could kill.
Right, thanks, Drew. If you think that you can help in any way, and as I say, please remember that he, maybe they, use loaded guns. Please don't let anyone be killed. This is the number here, 01811 8055. Or you can ring Guildford direct, that's 0483 311 11. Guildford 311 11.
Well, now to the Crimewatch UK incident desk, where we invite the police to appeal to you directly for your help in solving a variety of crimes. Here are Chief Inspector David Hatcher and WDC Helen Phelps.
We start this month with an appeal to motorists who travelled through Shropshire during March and might unwittingly have given a lift to a murderer. It was on March the 21st that Hilda Murrell, an international expert on roses, was stabbed and left to die a few miles from the house in Shrewsbury where she lived alone. It may be that when she came home from shopping, she disturbed a burglar. At any rate, she was taken on a bizarre ride in her own car through the surrounding countryside.
I do have
Witnesses
some
say they saw a
information
man
on
driving
this coming up.
erratically with Miss Murrell slumped in the front seat. The car, a white Renault 5, was found in a ditch 6 miles away at Huntington, and in a field about 500 yards away was Miss Murrell's body. This knife is believed to have been used in the attack. Miss Murrell was 79. As well as needing more information from local people, we're widening our appeal to motorists passing through the area who could have dropped Miss Murrell's killer on the A5 near her home before the murder, or given him a lift away from the scene, perhaps along the A49 north towards Cheshire, on the Newport Road, westward along the A5 towards Wales, or even east towards Telford and the M6. If you remember giving anyone a lift in Shropshire on that day, please call us in confidence here at Crimewatch UK.
Now the London rapist. Actually, the police are looking for two.
Right, before we go into that one. So, David there, he has really undersold the murder of Hilda Murrell here. Because, oh my God, her case is, yeah, there's so much. There's just, yeah, you see, there's like a whole website just dedicated to her because she is a woman who had a really interesting life, and the details of her murder after. So let me give you the background on Hilda. She was born in 1906. She inherited a flower business from her father. Her business, it won multiple awards. She gave flowers to the Queens, the Churchills, and a number of prominent people. And she retired from running her business in 1970. She became very much involved in environmentalism. She was a founding member of the National Soil Association. And then she turned her attention to anti-nuclear campaigning, for which she wrote several papers on the subject. And actually, right before her murder, she was due to give a presentation on a proposal to build a new nuclear plant in Sizewell. Okay. Yes. Clearly, it was they, Arcanics. Now, but there's more to it. You see, it also turns out there is a Falklands connection to this, because her nephew, Robert Green, was an officer in the Royal Navy, and Labour MP of the time, Tam Dalyell, I'm not sure if I've pronounced his name correctly, said that Green was the guy who gave the order to sink the Belgrano, which basically initiated the whole war. And he alleged in Parliament under privilege that there were documents being hidden in Hilda Murrell's house that intelligence agents had been sent to recover, and unfortunately she just came back in at the wrong time. Now there doesn't seem to be much evidence to support it, but that's how interesting her life is, that it just brings up all these weird theories. Now eventually her murderer, well, someone was convicted for her murder, a guy called Andrew George, and though Andrew admitted that he was present, he would have been 16 at the time, and there was DNA evidence that showed that he was at the scene. He denies that he acted alone, and he denies he actually committed the murder. And weirdly, Hilda's nephew, Robert Green, actually believes him. He said there was new DNA evidence that showed there was at least one other person involved. And like I say, there have been lots of other conspiracies that have come up about her death. So Andrew George, he is currently serving a life sentence. He appealed for parole in 2022. I'm not turning my ad blocker off. Thank you very much. But yeah, his attempt at parole failed in 2022. So, like I say, there is a whole website dedicated to her. If you want to find out more, that's just hildamurrell.org. And you'll also find there are lots of books that have been written about her murder as well. So, yeah. So that's with all the information I've been able to find out. And Crimewatch barely gave her case a minute. So her case is solved, sort of. So the M in MI5 stands for Moida. So yeah, I take it, Rob, I take it you've heard a lot of all the conspiracies that came up around this. So like I say, there is a lot. And yeah, Crimewatch had just really undersold it. It's just crazy because from their little bit, all you would have gleaned about her is that she was an old dear who liked to do a bit of flower growing. No, she had so much going on. Like I say, you should really check out the website hildamurrell.org just to find out more. She's fascinating. All right, move on to this next one. Yeah, this one is yeah.
2 men. The first was active in Kensington, and the Met Police, armed with a psychological profile composed by the FBI, have started a new house-to-house inquiry in the Redcliffe Gardens area. It might be that someone who has moved away since the first attack in 1979 has some useful information. If that's you, please call the incident room. The Kensington rapist has also boasted of 2 unreported attacks. There may even be more. So if you have been a victim and stayed silent for whatever reason, do think now about calling us. There are women here who can take your call if you prefer, and it is in confidence. In the second series of rapes in Notting Hill, this paper knife was stolen. When it was recovered, the ivory end of the knife
unfortunately, it's
handle
not
had been
really a
replaced with a piece of blue
jokey
plastic,
subject, I'm
and
afraid.
it had been splashed with house paint. If this triggers off any memories, please call us. Wherever you live, the fundamental warning is security. If you live alone, check that your doors and windows are secure. If you see someone acting suspiciously in the gardens around blocks of flats, call the police. And one last point. When you are in the evenings, remember to draw your curtains.
And now we turn our
That's
attention
just
to a rather
generally good advice. Why are they handling evidence from unsolved crimes? Good question. It may just be a replica they had made for the program rather than the actual one. But yeah, so this one, if I can find it. So as you said, they were actually looking for 2 men. Is this going to actually load? Okay, no, apparently not. In the previous murder, he says this knife. Yeah, but I guess as he's the inspector involved, I guess, you know, they're not going to confuse his prints on the knife. I don't know. I don't know if they do bring in the actual, if they just bring in replicas. Okay, so this isn't loading up. Okay, but right, let's get to my notes. So as Helen said there, they're actually looking for 2 rapists there. So we got the Notting Hill rapist and we've got the Kensington rapist. So I can tell the Notting Hill rapist was eventually caught in 1987. It's Anthony McLean, and he was served 3 life sentences for his crimes. No, it wasn't the Kensington Bear. He was innocent. No, just don't. Okay, but the Kensington rapist was never being caught. He sort of went quiet in 1983, and yeah, they've never been able to find him. And FBI profiling of all the rape cases showed they were definitely 2 separate people, because obviously this isn't loading up for some reason, but yeah. But yeah, the Notting Hill rapist, he was very bungling, whereas the Kensington one was a lot more controlled. So yeah, so we don't know. He could have moved to another country, another part of the world. Yes, that would definitely be Kensington's style.
a curious armed robbery in Liverpool. It's curious not for the fact that 2 armed men escaped with about £2,000 in cash, but rather that they were caught in the act by a security camera. The raid took place
How
at the
weird is
Kensington
it
branch
that
of Barclays
being
Bank in
caught on
Liverpool
a
on
security
Monday the 9th
camera
of April this
is
year.
unusual?
was 3:25, only a few minutes before the bank was due to close, when two men entered. One of them pulled a stocking over his face and produced a pistol. The other, meanwhile, collected nearly £2,000 in cash, which he put into a white plastic bag.
Look at these bumbling fools.
Unfortunately for them, in their rush to escape, they dropped the bag and the money spilt onto the floor.
Unbelievable.
If we examine one of the stills more closely, we get a fairly good picture of one of the robbers. And if you recognise him, the £5,000 reward could be yours.
A man with a perm and a tash
on that day and saw
in
the two men
Liverpool
with the white plastic
in the
bag running out of the
1980s.
bank. We're anxious to trace these two
Good
men
luck with that.
because next time, using a gun just like this, they might kill someone.
If you can help on any of these cases, do call us here at the incident desk on Crimewatch UK.
And the number
Yes,
to
Harry
ring
Enfield.
01811 8055. Now, in the last few hours, the police have asked us on Crimewatch UK to make an urgent appeal on a case which you're bound to have
Just
seen
to
in the
confirm,
news this week.
I did look for those robbers, and yeah, I can't confirm whether they were ever caught. Like I say, calm down. Yeah, like I said, when it comes to murder cases, always very easy to find information. If you want to look for other crimes, yeah, it just does tend to be a lot harder.
It concerns the man who's come to be known as the Fox. He is armed and has raped women in the Bedfordshire area. A massive police hunt for him is underway, and the man in charge of investigations at the incident room is Brian Prickett in Dunstable. Why are you now making such an urgent appeal?
Well, from being a normal
I'm trying
burglar,
to think
his
who it
motive
is
has
he
changed to that of a
looks
sexual
like.
attacker. He's become savage. His daring has increased considerably, and on Tuesday this week, in the early hours of the morning at Leighton Buzzard in Bedfordshire, he entered the house of a married
I'm
couple
sure he was like,
and
is
by
like
using
a
a shotgun,
character on
forced
Dallas.
the woman to tie her husband up and then committed a very savage rape on her. And our fear is that if this man is not caught, he will commit the ultimate offence.
Tom and Connor.
Because his character's changing so rapidly.
His character is changing, and there are changes in the type of he's committing, and his savagery is increasing tremendously.
So what do you need to know from viewers?
Well, he enters the property and always has had a balaclava on, and as can be seen in the reconstruction photograph shown, so the description is therefore very difficult. However, we believe he's in his 20s, he's white, he's about 5'8", he may be fair-haired, and we believe that he speaks with a soft northern accent. It may well be that his behaviour during the day is quite normal. He probably goes out at night, and in fact, the people with whom he lives might not know that. But, but I think someone probably will, and I would ask them to contact us in confidence.
Right, and in confidence, the number again, of course, to ring is
Yeah, he does look like a
01811
TV character.
8055. And in fact, Bedfordshire police are investigating another case that...
All right. Yeah, anyway. Yes, the Fox. He was found, so he was called Malcolm Fairley. He came from Sunderland, which was why he had that accent. But the reason he was called the Fox was because he used to break into people's houses and just use furniture to construct a little den inside them. So, and he would also, just sit down, watch TV, make himself a snack. Yeah, odd bloke. No, it wasn't because he foxed them. Anyway, yeah, he eventually got caught in September 1984, so it'd be 2 months after this would have gone out, because of yellow paint that was found at the scenes of one of his crimes. It matched with his car. He confessed to over 80 offences that he'd carried out, and Yes, we are talking some very brutal ones. And yeah, he was sentenced to 6 life sentences, but he actually passed away in May of this year in Her Majesty's Prison of Hull. Okay.
Hit the headlines. You might remember back in March, the burglary at Woburn Abbey. Thieves made off with an heirloom collection of fine silver, one of the finest in the world, about £5 million worth. How did they do it? Well, like all the most ingenious schemes, it was actually very simple. So simple, it should serve as a warning.
Very simple. Now watch this very complex, convoluted plan.
To the security guard patrolling the house that night, everything seemed in order as usual. Little did he know there were intruders in the darkness outside. A car had silently entered the grounds through a back gate.
Well, it wouldn't be much good if they were standing out in the light.
Undetected by the camera, the burglars made straight for the stonemason's workshop where the ladders were kept. They picked one of just the right length. They'd obviously done their homework.
Inside job. So Woburn Abbey is one of those big stately homes you can go visit. You know,
It was
imagine
19
what it's
minutes
like to
past
be
midnight
rich.
when they disconnected the infrared light attached to the camera.
Although Doom, you might find it a little cramped
The
for your
guard saw
style.
his monitor screen darken and noted a malfunction in his duty log. The robbers lay low for a while to make quite sure the guards had not reported anything suspicious to the police. In fact, it was 3 hours before they attempted their next move, which was accomplished quite simply with a cheap can of spray paint. In the control room, the effect was exactly the same as a camera breaking down.
He didn't think to go out and check it.
A final burst of paint put paid to the floodlight.
So what's the point? Oh, the camera's
The
gone
rest
down.
was easy.
Oh well, never mind.
And 4 months on, there's no news whatsoever of what happens to the treasures. Detective Chief Superintendent Brian Prickett is once again the man in charge of this case. What
Man,
actually
he's a
did they
busy
get away
guy.
with?
They took a family collection of silver and silver gilt that included the very unique Paul de Lamry bread baskets,
Good point, Arcanix.
candlesticks, and the
I don't know.
Lancia
Maybe they
silver,
examine
That's
the
a
paint
unique
and they
piece,
can
isn't it?
tell.
very unique indeed.
Oh,
In
that's a
particular,
very
there's the
cheap.
Russell
This is a
family
very
crest
cheap,
on most of these pieces, isn't there?
very
That is
cheap
right, yes.
style of paint.
The vast majority have got the crest on, and it also has a goat as part of the crest, and also has the words K Sarah Sarah, or if not, the letter B.
So are people likely to come across this
They
in an
knit the
antique
paint
shop?
from the
I
gift
think
shop.
they are. Our information is that the majority
Oh
of the
well,
stuff
maybe that's
is
how
still
they know it was
awaiting
cheap.
sale, but a number of items have been sold and could well be in second-hand shops or even antique shops.
Now, there's one major clue in this case, and that's this pickaxe handle. What does this tell you?
That's right. The pickaxe handle is alien to the scene, and it has an initial T on it, and also one other initial in front of it, which is not particularly clear. And would like to find the ownership of that, and would ask people if they recognise it, contact us.
So somebody might recognise that. And of course, there's that reward of £100,000, which could be an incentive.
I think it could, yes. I think it'd be an incentive both to members of the public generally and to the criminal world.
Brian Prickett, thank you very much indeed. And the numbers to ring, as always, you can call us here in the studio, 01 811 8055, or you can call the police in Dunstable on 0582 603 141.
Yes, indeed.
That's 0582 603 141.
All right. So this one. See if this one will actually load up. Yeah. So I was able to find out they did they did recover all the stolen goods, valued at £5 million. They found it in a water pumping station. So, but apparently it was all supposed to be part of a trap that had been laid by the police, but what do you call them? Well, one of the employees was just walking through and just discovered the haul and called the police. So yeah, he messed it up. So the police did say they had someone they were looking for, but I haven't been able to confirm if they did manage to arrest them. Are you saying it's an insurance scam? I mean, that's possible. Because I did find a thing that that said that experts who were looking at the case were surprised by the valuations that were given on the items that were stolen. So it's possible. All right, move on.
Finally, a truly ferocious crime. The victims were a group of people in a Merseyside pub. They'd simply gone to their local for a drink. In the reconstruction that follows, we show no explicit scenes of violence, but I must warn you that the language is pretty vivid and the action is necessarily highly realistic. It's a violent story of a violent night. It was the end of a Sunday
I don't think they should be calling them things like the After Time Gang.
Swan area of Liverpool.
Yeah, a lot going on in Liverpool this one.
As is the custom in this part of Merseyside, 2 officers on the beat did their usual round of the local pubs at closing time.
Oh, fine, no trouble, thanks, House.
Do the police in Liverpool still do this? Just
they checked
go around the local
in
pubs
the pub, and they
before
made
they
their way
close?
towards the door. Ironically, right at their feet was a brown sports bag whose contents, had they known them, would have brought half the police in the district to the pub.
I'd never fall out with you. All right, Peggy, we're going now, love. Oh, it's all right. You can hang on a bit if you like, look, because there's a couple of lads out there and I don't like the look of them. I've got enough lagers there to last them all night long. Peggy,
CID do.
Oh, thanks, don't you know?
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
The time is now 11:30, and the last few regulars in the Old Stanley began to finish off their drinks.
On the floor! Get on that floor now! For real! Get out! Stop that! Not one move! Right now, give us your Tom, your jewellery! Come on, get it on! Fine, you divvy! All right, shut it, mate. All right, what's doing you? Don't try it here,
So there's only 6 people in this recreation, but in reality there are actually 12 people that were in there. I guess BBC couldn't afford all the extras.
I'm telling you, it's not enough. Well, what do you mean to do about it?
During the commotion, one of the customers made a dash for it, and one of the men seems to have let slip the other's name.
Hey, Tony, get that bastard!
Oh yeah, we'll get...
Just at that very moment, a police car stopped right outside the pub. But the police were simply checking a passing motorist. They were preoccupied, and they didn't hear the fearful noises coming from the pub.
Just fearful noises coming from inside. And the police just...
Oh, God, no! Just one time, I'll blow your brains out. And there's... You friggin'
Obviously, this going out on BBC, this was severely toned down compared to what actually happened.
You think his name's Tony, don't you? It's not, is it, Bill? No, that's right, Alan. We're having your own with me, Fred. I'm not happy. I'm not happy. Who's the manager?
I am.
Where's the safe?
It's not in here.
Don't cheat me. Where's the safe?
It's outside.
Come on. Don't frig us about. Shut up. Right. Keep them covered. Anybody moves, blow their brains out. Come on, you.
Those who were there will never forget the 2 hours that followed.
Smaller guy, he was like
typical police in Nepal. Yeah.
At the end, the day's going to come and he'll definitely kill someone because he's got no value for human life whatsoever.
It was like mental rape what he'd done to us. It really was. He's destroyed me. Totally. I'll never forget it. Never.
You? Is that a necklace you got there, eh? And you? All of you. Roll your collars down. Come on, you.
I mean, I don't think the jewelry they're gonna have on is gonna be worth much. Not if you're just going down your local pub. You wouldn't put your good jewelry on, would you?
Don't try it.
This is gonna be like, what's the jewelry you get from Argos?
Just don't even think of it.
Is it Elizabeth Arden or something like that?
Showed you. Thought I was stick, didn't you, eh? You cunning bunch of bastards. Don't try anything like that again. Just don't try it.
What's an Argos? Yeah, it's a place where poor people go. Imagine what it would be like to own nice
Oh, there's
things.
an old video upstairs, so I kicked it in.
Why?
Because it felt like it.
Elizabeth Duke.
Get out, you silly old bitch!
What did you get?
Nothing much.
Don't piss me about. What did you get?
None!
Come on, tell me.
All your bunch of necklaces.
Well, there's another one.
Great.
800 quid's not enough.
There's some in the till.
Right.
Hey, I'm getting some champagne while you're there. We'll have a party.
Yeah, get some Bacardi, eh? Julie likes Bacardi. We'll have a party.
Julie likes that, doesn't she?
That's right. I don't think I'm finished with you lot.
In fact, the ordeal went on for over
what a
2
closing shot.
hours that night. Now, all the men, quite defenceless in front of the guns, were kicked and beaten. And after one of them suffered a fractured skull, one of the gunmen poured cordial into the wound. In all, £3,000 worth of jewellery and £1,400 in cash was taken. 2 of the women there have since suffered nervous breakdowns. Detective Chief Inspector John Corrin is determined to get the men responsible. He needs your help. What help do you want from the public?
The laminated book
that
of
was a particularly
dreams.
vicious and sadistic crime carried out in a family public house on a Sunday evening in Liverpool. We want to trace these 2 men urgently. Even experienced officers
I know, I
working
can't.
on this
Some people
case
just
were shocked by the
they just got
violence and
no
mental stress which is put upon these
no
people.
respect.
Now, it wasn't just one occasion. In fact, the second time they struck was 20 miles away from the Old Swan at Warrington in Cheshire. The style, the viciousness, the unnecessary violence of the attack make the police almost certain that the same men are responsible. The targets this time were customers in the Bluebell Inn near Warrington town centre. The date, the 22nd of February. That's 10 days after the Liverpool attack. Again, it was closing time. And this time they coshed a 78-year-old man over the head with the butt of a shotgun. Now, we know, or at least we think we know, that one of them was called Tony, because that was the name that we heard, and also Julie likes
Tony.
Bacardi.
Yes, we did. We're convinced that one of them is called Tony because on both occasions this name was used. They tried to cover it up in the Liverpool incident, but we are sure that Tony and an associate carried out this offence.
And someone called Julie knows them.
Yeah,
And Julie
they're
was
sure
probably
his
a
name
wife
was
or a
Tony.
girlfriend of one of these men. And I implore on this girl, whoever she is, called Julie, to get in touch with us because this was a very serious. These are 2 serious crimes, and I feel that she may have the key to who these people are.
She may be frightened herself, of
She
course.
may well be. Any information she will give us will be treated in full confidentiality.
What are these things that you've brought with you?
This was brought into the public house by one of the offenders in the hold-all which carried the guns. This is a towel which was thrown to one of the victims to wipe the blood on his head. And I would like to trace where it came from, if possible.
Right, and there's a rope there.
Swimming
This
bath.
rope was used to tie one of the victims up. It's a peculiar type of rope with a white inset, probably from a dressing gown cord or a lady's dress. We don't know. And if anybody has one missing
I
from
don't know.
the
It
dressing
seems a
room,
bit weird.
let
They
them know.
brought a towel.
And
with them.
obviously, publicans in the area and anybody who's drinking late at night should watch out for two men who fit those descriptions.
Yes, I would say so. But not necessarily rough public houses. Ordinary family public houses, I would urge them to be aware of men with carrying hold-all bags, waiting at the end of time and sitting there with quite a bit to drink.
Chief Inspector, thank you. Now, these are the numbers to ring.
Anyone
Please
who
don't let
stand
other
up.
people suffer in this macabre way.
All right. So this one, remember he said this case is solved, but you remember he said they're convinced their names were, one of the names was Tony. Well, guess what? Neither of the people who committed this act were called Tony. They were called Dominic Gallagher and George Kendrick. So they were arrested and they were convicted in 1985. So Kendrick he pleaded guilty to the aggravated burglary, but Dominic Gallagher he claimed he was he pled he was not guilty. So I don't know how that works, but yeah, they were both found guilty. And in the case, the judge did actually mention the Crimewatch reconstruction and said it had proved a great help in actually eventually finding them and bringing them to justice. So in the end, George Kendrick he was sentenced to 12 years, and Dominic Gallagher he was sentenced to 18 years. So yeah, another happy ending on that.
01 811 8055 here in the studio. You can call the detectives in Liverpool direct. Their number is 051 777 3643. That's Liverpool 777.
So I was going to let this play out, but yeah, that is
Incidentally, if you
basically
haven't had a chance to write down the numbers, they're all on CFAX if you have it. But don't worry, the one to remember tonight is this one, 01 811 8055. We and the investigating officers behind us will be here for the rest of the night.
In fact, we'll be back to tell you what has been developing as a result of the programme, tell you about the calls we've received and give you reminders. That'll be just under an hour from now. That's Crimewatch UK Update, immediately after Question Time, here on BBC One at 11:05. Till then, these lines are open.
We'll be waiting for your call.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense why he would plead not guilty. Because when his partner has already pled guilty, that's just only going to make it worse for him. All right. Anyway, so that's that for this edition of the Crimewatch Rewatch. So, you know, we had a pretty good hit rate on finding out which cases have been solved, which ones are still open. No, he didn't say you don't have nightmares. Ah, that's a good point. Maybe he hadn't made that his catchphrase yet. You know, sometimes these things take time. But yes, keep them peeled. But yeah, that will be it for this edition. We will be back next week. I don't watch ahead, so I don't know what the cases are. But so yeah, we'll see. I will be on next on 8 out of 10 Cats' channel on is it Wednesday we're doing it for the round table quiz. And yeah, hopefully I'll be back here next week to do the next edition of the Crimewatch Rewatch. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. Keep them peeled, don't have nightmares. I need to learn how to end this stupid thing. Sorry.